Hi, I'm Eric Rom. I'm the creator of the Copper Flute. And over the next 30 days, we're going to go on quite the adventure together into how to play this instrument, but also into the bigger picture of what music is to you and hopefully expand the role that music plays inside of your life. Now, the way that I look at music is pretty non-traditional. So if you are coming from a traditional music background, hang in there with me because some of this stuff might look a little wacky or a little different, but that's because I don't personally look at music as notes on a page or a song on the radio. I have strong convictions that the power that music has, that these frequencies and these different notes and vibrations have, go far beyond just a nice song on the radio. Now, I'm not talking just about, say, the woo or even the science. I don't think anyone really has quite nailed exactly the full picture yet, but I do know that there's more than meets the eye, and that is why when I play this instrument, when I play instruments like this, when I perform that magic, that true magic of turning the breath that I breathe, that gives me life, into music, splitting my breath into music, I know that there is more to it than just making a pretty note. And that's why I feel so passionate about what we're going to be doing together over the next 30 days. So if you are ready to look at things a little differently, to challenge yourself and to learn something new, then get ready to start playing the Copper Flute. Wait, the Copper Flute, actually, I better introduce the real instrument that we're going to be playing. I know I said we're going to be learning the Copper Flute, but the real instrument that we're going to play is our own breath. What the Copper Flute truly is just an interface to try and pull out the particular sounds and notes and feelings and vibrations that we want out of our own breath. Before we can begin to truly master or move towards mastery on the Copper Flute, we need to start giving attention to the way that we breathe. The way that we breathe allows us to sustain a note longer, to add more nuance to our playing. And over the next 30 days, we're going to be talking a lot about nuance because nuance is what makes the difference between something sounding sterile and okay and whatever, and something tugging on emotions. Because that's a reflection of life. It's not just the bluntest stories that hit us the hardest. It's those nuanced ones that pull on our emotions in a way that maybe we had not been able to articulate correctly, but we knew were deeply felt. And that's really what we are after when we pursue challenging ourselves to get better, is to pursue the ability to inject even more of our own nuanced personality into our playing. And so that's what we're after this next 30 days. Now, I've already warned you, things are not going to be very traditional over the next 30 days, but I have a sneaking suspicion, if you're anything like me, the traditional way to learn music has never really done it for you. Maybe just trying to study notes on a page or having a teacher teach you. Nothing against it, but I know that we all learn in different ways. We all connect to things in different ways. And for me, that was not a path that I went down. The path that I did end up following when it came to learning how to play instruments is one that looks very different, but made learning those instruments come very quickly and allowed me to move over that initial hill of technical proficiency, if you will, into emotional expression. And that is what I'm going to be sharing with you over the course of this next 30 days. And it starts with the concept of learning first the body, second the mind, and then third the soul. Now, maybe you're pumping the brakes and saying, what is some kind of, again, woo-woo stuff, new age, or maybe that's your vibe, and you're like, right on, Eric, what are we getting into here? This is not any spiritual thing. This is not woo. This is just the honest truth of how I approach the world, how I approach my own place in the world, and how I approach learning things in such a way that they feel very authentic and they come much quicker than if I do it any other way. And so rather than try and make it seem slightly more palatable or less potentially woo sounding, I will not do the disservice to you of giving you some type of watered down version of anything. I'm going to be real with you and say, hey, this is how I really do it because this is how I believe that you can do it too. Now, what I mean by body, mind, and soul in this regard is that rather than trying to learn everything at once, what notes what, how do I move which finger where, how hard do I blow, I'm thinking about things, I'm doing things with my body, and I'm trying to feel it with my spirit, right? I'm trying to do all these things, 3 things at once, and none of them seem to gel, and I'm putting a lot of energy into multiple things, and I don't seem to be making much progress. Well, when I talk about body, mind, and soul, it means that we are going to pull back and go one at a time. The mechanical, physical aspect of your body moving. Your mind knowing what notes are what, not in a traditional musical theory sense, but just in a which note do I want to play next aspect. And then finally, your soul aspect, in that you are freely expressing yourself rather than using your mind or your body to have to think, what comes next? What should I do? Oh, that's not right. It's freeing up thinking about what you're doing so that you are freely expressing yourself. With that in mind, we are going to begin with the body. When it comes to the copper flute, or the concept of spirituality around music and around playing the flute, you are not going to hear a lot of absolutes from me. You're not going to hear me say, this does this, or this is the truth about that. And that's because I think that part of pursuing the truth is maintaining a lot of humility and maintaining a clear view of how little we actually know. But just because I may not have the clear picture doesn't mean that I don't internally feel that there is this intrinsic spiritual connection between that magic of making music out of your breath, the very breath that gives you life, and some other side of who we are and what our bigger place is in this entire existence. I encourage you to be open, not to any specific, this is the truth, but to the broader understanding and deep resonance that you might also feel that there's something about when you play the flute, the copper flute, that somehow feels deeper and more connected than other things. And so I want to honor that and honor that connection that it has in our own lives. In the way that I do that, in the way that this flute has played a large role in bringing more peace, a calmer daily presence, more foresight into decision making, the ability to pause in the moment and think through how I'm going to respond. And that comes from the morning ritual that I'm going to share with you right now. Now, there's a long history of using the flute to connect deeper, of even using the flute in a ritualistic setting. And again, we're not talking about a ritualistic anything that's attached to any specific religion, but what has happened in our world as basically more and more people have moved away from any type of firm spiritual foundation, the power of ritual has also been taken away from us. And the power of ritual, specifically turning your mind and your thoughts to these good intentions every day, cannot be overstated enough. One of the first things that I'm going to be sharing with you is one of the more powerful ways that this flute has played a bigger role in my life. I love to play the flute. I love to express myself through the copper flute, but where I have found the most impact in my own life and where I think that you can go beyond just playing a really beautiful song is in your daily ritual. Now, this is something I do in the morning. And if you can at all possible, I want to invite you and even challenge you to add this into your morning routine. It's simple, it's easy, it's not about technical skill or proficiency or anything. It's about intentions, focus, and guiding your thoughts at the beginning of your day to the things that you want them to be pointed at. Not to let the world tell you, oh, you have to think about the news, you have to think about social media, you have to think about this. Everything out there is trying to rob you of the most precious thing you have, and that is your focus and your intention. So if you can reclaim first thing in the morning, if you can reclaim that focus and that intention, and you decide to turn it to something positive, to something that will benefit the world, that will make the world brighter, you will see exponential benefits in your life. And it starts with something as small as blowing into a tube. Now, you're going to see me using the air adapter throughout this. Now, the only reason I'm doing that is so that I can have my fingers up here so you can kind of see what I'm doing, okay? You know, I don't mind playing it like that, but boy, I'd have to have one long camera if I was doing it that way. So, what I love to do and what I encourage you and invite you to do right alongside me every morning is this. You pick up your flute. From this point on, we're going to be opening our lessons with this practice, but you are going to just take a long blow. And for now, we're going to open our lessons with no fingers covered. Later, we're going to cover all of the holes. We're going to slowly work our way there. But for now, cover no holes. Take a deep breath. I breathe my first long breath, and I think about my place in the community. Now, what does community mean? Well, it's really going to depend on you personally. Beyond your family, who is your community? One of the worst things to feel is disconnected. At times, we can feel maybe that we don't have a strong community. And if that is what comes up in that first breath, where we still feel disconnected from community, that may be a sign to us to go seek out more community. Now, you can join us here in the Copper Flute community in our group. We'd love to hear from you and hang out with you and talk to you more. Or maybe there's something else that's been on your heart that you could go and be a part of locally and in person. Or maybe you just think about your place within the community that's already surrounding you. What is your place in there today? How can you be a part of that community? Because I tell you what, I've done a lot of different things in life. I've pursued all the things and maybe even achieved many of the things that are supposed to make you happy. Whether it's traveling the world or being a rock star, a pseudo rock star, you know, when I was younger playing guitar. And traveling the world playing guitar, or climbing, Mount Kilimanjaro, or doing all these really things that did nothing but give you little bursts of chemical joy. I remember when I got to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, my guide had actually come to me and he had said, it was just me and my guides, there's nobody else on the thing. He said, hey, you're doing really good. I think you could probably summit tomorrow morning. What's supposed to happen is you get to the base camp of the summit and then you summit in the middle of the night and you go with everybody else, like hundreds and hundreds of people, all the different routes, land you on this base camp, and then everybody's going to go up at once. So he says, I think that we could just go all the way. And if you do that, you're going to be the only one up there. Turns out he actually had a party that he wanted to get to. And if we did that, he could make his friends party. He took me along with him, so it all worked out. However, I got up there, and when I saw that beautiful panoramic view, and I was the only person up there, other than my guide, and it was something I thought about forever, and I dreamed about, and I'd worked towards. And my body was just flooded with every feel-good chemical that you can imagine. There's no drug that can compare to that. But you know what? The next day, it was gone. That big, powerful chemical feeling was gone. And while I do not knock the experience, it's that even the pinnacle of the mountain doesn't last. It doesn't last. It's just a fun thing to do. But what lasts is doing something that means something to somebody else. And that's why that first blow is community. Who is my community? What place do I have beyond myself? And I don't say that because that's gosh, gee willikers, what a great thing to do. It is a great thing to do, but it's not that. It's that the whole point of why we're here starts to come to being of service to other people. For so many years, I missed that. It just led me down all the wrong paths. And so that's why every single morning, my focus first and foremost is, where is my place within community? The reason I say I do community first, my second blow is family. My third blow is self, and not the other way around. Why don't I do myself first, then my family or whatever? It's because if you do not have a strong place in a community, if you do not have that sense of purpose, everything else suffers. I've found it's really interesting because you'd think, no, you have to have your family in order first, or you have to have yourself in order first. No, you could be a mess and go help other people and watch it turn whatever's going on in your own life around like that. So that's why, first and foremost, I breathe out for community. And why I really encourage you, that first thing that you do is you have that long pause where you are just giving some time to thinking about, what is my place today within the communities that I'm in? My second blow. I'm thinking about, what is my place in family today? Now, family can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It can be a really powerful word. It can be a positive word. It can be a triggering word. This shouldn't be something that makes you feel negative or less than or anything other than encouraged. And so I would encourage you on that second long exhale that you are thinking about your place within family and what positive sense of family that means to you. Now, that doesn't mean everything is always going to be perfect. For example, a lot of the times what comes up for me is, hey, I need to be spending one-on-one time with my son. Or, hey, yesterday helping my daughter with that. Maybe I could have been kinder in how I guided her or something like that. For me, a lot of the times it's, how can I show up and just be who I am meant to be for my family? Who am I for me? What's going on with me? Checking in with myself. There's not a lot of time spent without some other agenda, whether it's something else just pulling your focus and your attention, this and that. And a lot of the times when you're thinking to yourself, you're thinking about something else. There's not a lot of that general thought that's just focused on, what am I doing? What should I be doing? How am I? That blow of self-awareness is a very powerful tool. Very powerful. This is not trying to beat yourself up. It's not trying to encourage you to go do more or judge yourself or whatever. No, this is just like saying, hey, what's up? It's like tuning in with a friend. It'd be nice if you could check in with your friend more often. And ideally, we should be at a place where we are our best friends. And I know that's not the case for everybody. That was not the case for me for a long time. And tools like this are what helped change that. Fourth blow. What's my day like? What's going on today? What am I doing today? If you can turn your mind to your day, and I'm not talking like checklist. It doesn't have to be a checklist, whip cracking stuff, but just like, hey, what's going on today? Is there anything I need to think about? Again, this blow is, you're going to be working your way up to maybe 30 seconds. So it's not like you're running through a lot. But what you're doing is you're turning your attention, your focus to this day, this beautiful day, this gift of a day that you have been given, that every other thing in the world wants to take away from you. They want to steal you and get you bickering about who did what or what person said this or who. And while none of those things can impact you at all other than impact your emotions. And so when you can turn your day right away at the beginning of the day to your day, to you, to this day, this beautiful, blessed day that you get to live, you have that shield of armor, okay? So that when the next thing on social media or on whatever or this or that comes at you, you've already tuned yourself into your day, okay? You don't want to hear it, okay? That's someone else's distraction for the day. What we do this for is not just for the power that it has to tune in our minds to the positives or the things that might need a look, instead of letting the world just grab us by the horns. It's not just that, it's also to be practicing our deep, long breaths. So that last nice, long breath, and I'm just gonna do a quick, nice, short breath. think about what I'm thankful for. Now, before you say, hey, thankful for, blah, 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 I get it. It seems played out, and the toughest thing about cliches is that they probably have a lot of truth to them, but because they're a cliche, it's hard to not tune them out. Being thankful, taking that little mental inventory of what's going right, and then saying thank you. Just thank you. Again, you don't have to say thank you to anybody, just say it. Say thank you, just be thankful. And the power in that, again, to tune your attention, to tune your focus, and to tune your day to something positive has exponential returns. So when we start our practice, we're not going to do all 5, but I want you to have this next to your bed, or maybe it's in the bathroom, or maybe it's next to your coffee, but wherever it is, try to do it as early in the day as you can so that you are setting yourself up not just to get in a little practice, whether, the day gets away from you or not, but to turn your attention and your focus onto the things that are going to lift you up day after day after day, instead of the potential for something else to just come and grab your focus and attention and just carry it wherever it wants to. Because again, almost every corporation in the world is in a fight for your attention because they know that your attention is the most powerful thing you have. With that, let's begin. Today's lesson, grab your flute, and we're going to do our first low, long breath. We're not going to cover any holes because we haven't covered covering holes just yet. So, we inhale. You want to see your belly go. So before we can really powerfully, strongly get in there and try to move closer towards mastery, and I'll say this, I created the copper flute and I am still so far off from mastery, true mastery. True mastery is really an illusion, but it's a beautiful pursuit. You know that mastery will never happen. There's no such thing as achieving that goal. And it's not about a goal-oriented process. It's about movement, growth, and expansion. And so the first part of that will come from how we breathe. When I breathe, I want my belly to be pushed out, not my chest. And now what we're talking about there is breathing with what's called your diaphragm. Now, your diaphragm sits right about here inside of you. When you breathe in, try and see if you can put your hand on your stomach and get your hand to move. Maybe you put your hand here and make this one not move and this one move. This is what we want to do as we are playing the flute, is we want to be breathing with our diaphragm. Because when we breathe with the diaphragm, not only do we have more breath at our disposal, which means we can hold a note for longer, we can play a longer run or string of notes, but also we have more control when we're using our diaphragm over the nuance of what we're playing. Now, nuance we're going to be talking about a lot over this course, but the power, the emotion, the passion, it's all in nuance. And I want you to think about nuance kind of like this. Two people can tell the same story. One person can tell the facts of the story, and you go, oh, okay. The next person can bring that story to life. They fill it with emotion and little details and little clips and little asides, and they really illustrate and make you feel those characters in that story. And you might just be crying at the end of that story. One you really don't care about or whatever, maybe it's like feels like a news story to no connection at all. The next, man, you feel this powerful, profound connection to the exact same characters. The difference is in the nuance of how those stories are told. And so much of what we do when we are improvising on the flute is storytelling. We are sharing and telling these beautiful, heartfelt stories that come from deep inside us. And if it's really flat and boring, maybe it's just the straight facts as here's a note, here's a note, here's a note. Or if there's all that nuance in it with how the note maybe leads into this note and rises and falls, and there's tension and there's release. That is where the power in the emotion is. And so when you are breathing with your diaphragm, when you are pushing out that stomach and not moving around your chest, you are going to have access to that nuance, that little intricate, detailed playing that when you hear, you resonate with. That's why today, what I want you to do is just focus on your breath. So I even have a little bit of a homework assignment for today. I'm going to have a lot of these little homework assignments, but if you're anything like me, maybe you didn't like homework, don't worry. This is going to be the most fun you've ever had with homework. So today's homework is this. As you breathe throughout your day, you are going to be practicing getting your body used, again, because we're focused on the body, teaching our bodies first. You're going to get your body used to breathing with your diaphragm if you haven't done it before. So I want you to just go throughout the rest of the day, and every time you can think about it, maybe you can set a reminder on your phone or whatever you want to do. I want you to have your hand on your stomach. It don't matter if you're watching a movie, whatever you're doing. I want you to try and breathe as much as possible with your diaphragm, okay? Because again, we want to train our bodies to get used to that. Kind of like what I said before, someone's trying to learn something new, they try to do all of it at once, and there's too many moving parts to keep track of. In 30 days, they have barely made any progress. Now, this may seem like, wait, a whole day and all I'm doing is moving my hand around on my stomach. When we break it down like this, and we teach our bodies something first, and we go one area at a time, that's how we do this massive shortcut from zero to playing the music that we want to play. It's how I personally did it, and it's exactly how you are going to do it as well. So don't look down at this or think, it's not a big deal. I don't really have to. You have to, okay? Stick with me here. This is so important. Every little piece is going to kind of build off the next piece, but everything's really nice and easy, which is the cool part. So today, what are you going to do? Hand on the stomach. If you're really daring, there's no one else around, no one to weird out. You can have the hand on the here to just make sure you're not doing it. Maybe you're watching TV. Maybe you're listening to some music you love or something, but you just hand here, breathe like that. So you know that you don't have to practice on the actual flute today. Maybe you still want to play around with it, and I actually really, really encourage you to do that, because the more that you play with it, we're going to talk about this later, but the more that you play around, the faster it all happens. But if you say, nope, I'm just going to focus on my hand today, take your flute, go put it wherever it needs to be for tomorrow morning, because you have those 5 long breaths of community, of family, of self, of your day, and of your gratitude. Those 5 beautiful gifts to yourself in the morning. Tomorrow morning, so go ahead, set this wherever it needs to be, and I cannot wait to see you very soon.